And how do you think is the main reason for this huge growth over the past few years?
So when you look at ChatGPT, really came into the public realm at the end of the year 2022. Right? So it seems like years, but it's really not been that long since, for all intents and purposes, all of us in the general public have had a chance to really, experience what we refer to as generative AI, a form of artificial intelligence, which is ChatGPT. I think a lot of people, right, have realized pretty quickly that there are a lot of mundane, repetitive tasks that we as human beings have to undertake every day to do our jobs. First of all, there's a lot of problems, right?
Hey everyone, and welcome to my podcast AI with Us. Today we're with John, and today we're going to talk about AI startups in the AI industry. But before we get started, can we hear a little about yourself?
Absolutely, Alex. I'm John Julie. I'm the Senior Vice President of Sales for a company called Pinnacle AI. I've been in the technology industry for probably 25 plus years, primarily working with some larger companies like Verizon and CenturyLink, which is now Lumen Technologies. And then the end of last year, I received a call with some people I've worked with in the past that, had a concept of building an AI company. Most of these folks had been working with AWS and some of the other larger cloud companies, started to develop some products, and it seemed like the right time to enter the industry in the world of artificial intelligence. So here I am having the opportunity to talk to you today.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the AI industry. So I feel like AI in the past couple years, we've seen a big growth in technology. As we've seen, like for example, ChatGPT, different AIs like that. And how do you think is the main reason for this huge growth over the past few years?
So when you look at ChatGPT really came into the public realm at the end of the year 2022. Right? So it seems like years, but it's really not been that long since, for all intents and purposes, all of us in the general public have had a chance to really, experience what we refer to as generative AI, a form of artificial intelligence, which is ChatGPT. I think a lot of people, right, have realized pretty quickly that there are a lot of mundane, repetitive tasks that we as human beings have to undertake every day to do our jobs. First of all, there's a lot of problems, right, when human beings have to do repetitive things over and over and over again. First, right, people burn out from doing repetitive tasks. Secondly, right, that's why they say we're human. People make mistakes. So when you are able to use a machine to do things that it would ordinarily take a person to do, first, it allows people to focus on more creative jobs. It allows people to focus their energy and attention in areas that are more strategic. And by allowing machines to, again, accomplish those repetitive tasks, whether it be writing a document or filling out a form or creating some sort of content, right? Pictures, things of that nature. Number one, machines can do that much faster than human beings can. And that means that people can be more productive. Companies can be more productive. They can do a lot more with less. Secondly, I think, from a perspective of human beings, many times, have you ever written a letter and or went to type an email and you get writer's block and you sit
Yeah.
there and it takes an hour to write a couple sentences? You type and you delete, you type and you delete. However, if you can allow a machine to kind of put those thoughts into words, to kind of take content, reorganize it, generate it in a very timely fashion, again, it just makes people very, very productive.
Yeah. I feel like AI, like you said, it's only been 2 years, even though when the first AI, when ChatGPT came to the public, and we've been using it, and it feels like it's already a huge part of our lives. Um, for example, coding as well. I would be coding, and then I would have this idea I want to implement, but I tried using API docs, all these kinds of things, and I always get errors. It didn't work out for me. So I asked ChatGPT, can you help me create this? And just a few seconds, I have this piece of code. Sometimes ChatGPT, of course, doesn't get it right, but it's very helpful. And I feel like the AI industry in general it's making a lot of money, like maybe hundreds, millions, even billions of money because of this new AI. And so, I mean, how do you think AI is revolutionizing the way we, for example, basically in every field where like medical or educational, maybe even driving as well with Teslas?
Sure, absolutely. So there are different types of artificial intelligence, right? So when we're talking about chat GPT, we're talking about generative AI. And what generative AI is, for all intents and purposes, it's taking content, it's taking a corpus of material or artifacts, and then it is recreating something similar but different, right? So it's
Yeah.
taking a body of data, right? And then it's regenerating to, again, create new content that's similar to the old content. When we talk about driving or autonomous vehicles, we're really talking about what we call objective driven AI. And objective driven AI is where you're essentially giving the machine an objective and you're allowing the machine to kind of figure out the best way to solve the problem. So if you think of a car, you're basically telling the car, right, for an autonomous vehicle, I need to get from point A to point B. It's up to the car to figure out the best route, right? So if you're trying to type an email, essentially what you're doing, right, is you're giving the machine a body of data, right?
Hmm.
Send a letter to my friend telling them I miss them, right? Send an email to my long lost aunt, right? And then you're putting parameters around what you want that email to say, right? So there's that
Yeah.
body of data that the machine is simply kind of recreating, right? A new output that's similar, right, to the prompt or the request that you're asking that machine. So there's an endless degree of areas that we can apply artificial intelligence at a high level. When we look at hospitals or we look at healthcare or medicine, we can use what we call convolutional neural networks, sometimes referred to as computer vision, to actually look at x-rays, right, radiography, right, and be able to determine uh, the smallest anomaly, right, within an x-ray or an MRI that may not even be visible to the human eye. Then when we stay in healthcare, we can take a look again at generative AI. There's a lot of repetitive tasks that take place in the healthcare system, filling out forms, submitting insurance claims, right? So again, you can take and train that machine to do all of those repetitive tasks. When we look at manufacturing, the application of AI in manufacturing, if you think about an assembly line,
Yeah.
uh, that is, right, you have a factory that's producing parts, right? Again, the smallest anomaly or the let's say defect in a part could have tragic results, right? Especially if it's going into a car or an airplane. So what we can do is we can train the machine on a pattern, right, of what that part is supposed to look like coming off the assembly line, and use artificial intelligence to recognize what a good part looks like. And then, oh, here comes the assembly line. We have another part that has a defect in it, and artificial intelligence can then pick up that defect or that anomaly, right, from what's being created or developed right within that factory. We look at education, for example.
Yeah.
Um, in the realm of education, we tend to have uh, a one size fits all approach. When you're in class, right, you have 20 other students in a classroom, but the teacher only teaches one way. However, we know that everybody learns differently. Some
Hmm.
people learn by solving problems. Some people learn by watching videos or movies about something. Other people learn by reading, right? So what we can do with artificial intelligence is now create customized learning plans that fit the student, as opposed to, again, having a one size fits all and just hoping the body of students all can learn the same way that the teacher or the professor is instructing. So, again, whether it's retail or healthcare or manufacturing, there's so many different areas that you can actually apply artificial intelligence. And again, right now, the state that we're in with artificial intelligence is that we can train data or train the machine to do essentially a narrow task, right? What machines are not capable of doing are learning a task and then applying that knowledge to an entirely different task somewhere else. Let me give you an
Yeah.
example. If you're a carpenter, you learn the trade again of carpentry, right? You learn how to build a house. You need to know what a hammer is. You need to know what a saw is. You need to know what a level is. Now, for a person or a human being, we can take all of the knowledge that we've learned for building that house. And if we wanted to say, okay, I'm tired of building houses, I want to go build furniture, you don't have to be trained on carpentry all over again. You can take what you've learned from building that house and apply it to other areas, right? We can't really do that yet with artificial intelligence. Again, we can train a machine or train data to perform that particular task. But if we want that machine to do something different, a new task, sure, we can take some of the trained data that we started right down the path of training that machine, but we have to train that machine right with give it an additional knowledge of how now to perform that new task. How do I go from building a house to building a table or a chair? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense actually. Um I think what you're saying is that AI is can be very helpful in many different fields, like for example, healthcare, education, manufacturing, etc. And also that AI doesn't really need to learn a whole new set of skills in order to do like something different. For example, if an AI is trained to drive a golf cart by itself, and now we want to move the AI to a the car, for example. If it was limited AI, it wouldn't be able to move to a golf cart to a car. But because we have this AI, so this sophisticated AI, it can we can like basically train it a little bit more, and get used to it, and then it will be able to drive a car, and it will be able to drive a golf cart, and maybe even a car at the same time, something like that. Yeah, that seems great what you're talking about. I
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do agree about what you said. How AI can help. I'm going to talk a little bit about the specifically healthcare because I think I have many points for that. For example, when you said that there are many tedious tasks a doctor has to do, AI can, yeah, it can help with those tedious tasks because it's basically an algorithm. It's basically a step of instructions and a bunch of neural networks, and it could basically do the doctor's job for it, kind of like a virtual assistant, if that makes sense. Yeah,
Alex, absolutely. I have to tell you, you have a much greater grasp of artificial intelligence than than most people.
yeah. Thanks for that. And as I was saying before, the the AI, it's it can do tedious tasks that the doctor and pretty much any single person from working from home to a CEO to maybe even a farmer with robots. It can help with tedious tasks and also specifically in healthcare. There's these tiny nanobots that can go inside the bloodstream and look at blood cells, white cells, all these kinds of things, monitor them, and then it can give the doctor, like, instead of having to take regular tests, maybe even spending hours trying to look at all the data through like all these surgery things, the AI can just look inside the bloodstream and see, okay, there's this, oh, this is bad. Also, same for dentists as well. You can, maybe it might be weird, but like you could put like a little camera in your mouth and it will look maybe even inside the tooth and it will see, okay, this tooth is healthy or it's not healthy, that has this thing. And yeah, it can basically do a doctor's job. All you have to do is go inside. The doctor could just recommend you things, and you're good to go without having to do tests that would take you hours to do. In fact,
You're
yeah,
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And again, the, the problem that people have when they're trying to figure something out, right? Whether it be a doctor or a lawyer, right? Is that the reality is that there are massive amounts of data out there that are required to analyze, right? Even in the human mind, right? We're constantly, human mind is like a computer, right? We are constantly observing different types of data. We're learning, we're reading, and the truth of the matter is, it's very hard for the human mind to kind of calculate in a very fast period of time all of these vast amounts of data sets, and that's where the computer comes in.
hmm
And that's where the computer comes in. And as you rightly pointed out, it can save not only a tremendous amount of time, but right, it could also right eliminate or remove human error. Right,
yeah,
people make mistakes, machines don't.
yeah. Um, Humans do make mistakes, but let's keep in mind that humans also make the AI. So basically, for example, humans are biased, very biased. So with all this data the AI is training, AI is basically a data um output input kind of. So if you like put if let's just say I made a chatbot and I like dogs over cats, like I said in my last episode, I would put make my AI biased to dogs, for example. So if the user says, okay, which one's better, dogs or cats? The AI will say dogs. Well, that's because the data I've trained it, maybe subconsciously or consciously, is biased, and I feel like since it's also biased, for example, it can also sometimes have human error, even AI error, because after all, it's just regurgitating data, and basically the data comes from humans as well. But as you said before, it can eliminate some human error. As I said before previously, that it's basically an algorithm. So let's just say a calculator, for example. Sometimes you might get the calculation wrong, but for calculator, it's pretty much 100%. Let's just say 99.9, just in case that 0.1% isn't true. It pretty much would get it right pretty much all the time. So I so it can eliminate some human error, but also it can add human error. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and Alex, you're very perceptive, right? So when you're building AI solutions, again, right, I'll use the house analogy. It's very important to build an appropriate foundation, right? And that foundation is really the data, making sure that you have unbiased data, right? You're absolutely right. And there is conscious bias and subconscious bias. The conscious bias is I like dogs over cats. I know I like dogs over cats, right? And when I am, all right, building algorithms, or, again, building business logic, right? Like, okay, I like dogs, right? Like, right. I know that I'm building that logic, right, around the superiority of dogs over cats, right? But there's also unconscious bias, right? That you may not even recognize that you like dogs more than cats, right? That likability of dogs, it may be somewhere in the back of your head that you're not even realizing. So that's very important. Understanding that when you are building the algorithms, as you correctly pointed out, that you're doing so without any bias, at least conscious bias. The next thing that you have to figure out, Alex, is that uh, the data where you're getting, right, the data streams that you're building these algorithms off of, right, and you're essentially training the machine on, the source or the origin of data, right, has to be unbiased too, right? If I'm creating an algorithm over dogs or cats and I'm getting all of my data streamed in from the Westminster Dog Club, right? Well, there's a good chance that the output is going to be biased towards dogs. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for agreeing with me. Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about Pinnacle AI. I think that's what it's called. You said you worked at Pinnacle AI, right?
I do work at Pinnacle AI. Absolutely.
Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind, can you tell us a little bit about the company's background?
Sure. Absolutely. So we are a startup. We opened our doors last year for all intents and purposes. And we started with two really missions, right? So the focus of Pinnacle AI is to use artificial intelligence and machine learning, generative AI more specifically, to essentially optimize and modernize business systems and processes and functions. Right? So we are really kind of focused on the business community, right? Taking business tasks or business challenges, and using AI, ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning, to solve those problems with the proverbial machine. Right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we're very focused on building custom solutions. So unlike many companies out there that are using the engine of ChatGPT or Google to perform some of those tasks that are AI ML driven, we are building our own models. We start from scratch. We select the foundation models, which are algorithms, right? Um, and we select the foundation models. We're agnostic. It doesn't matter to us which foundation model we use. So we select those foundation models based on the type of output that we want and the type of data that we are training. So not every foundation model, Alex, is the best model for the type of data. Now, what
Yeah.
do I mean by the type of data? Well, Video is a type of data. Images or pictures is a type of data. Text, when you write, is a type of data. Voice, as we're talking right now, is a data stream. So you need to pick a foundation model that is going to be most appropriate and perform the best based on the type of data that you're using. And then secondly, what's the output that I want? Do I want to create a chatbot, for example, that's going to communicate or interact with real people in real time? Well, there may be better models out there. There may be algorithms out there, right? Base algorithms that are better to perform that task and generate that output. So after we select the foundation models, we're also building the database around those foundation models. And then we're the ones that are building the business logic. Sometimes, Alex, you may hear the term prompt engineering in AI. So we're the ones that are actually creating those prompts and doing the engineering on those prompts to ensure, obviously, that we are getting the most accurate and realistic outcome or output from the data that obviously that we're training.
That sounds very cool. So can you tell us a little bit about the products or services you do at Pinnacle AI?
Sure, absolutely. So we have two main categories, right? We've built these artificial intelligent engines, so to speak. On one hand, we have a very specific product that analyzes um, customers' cloud environments. So you're familiar with the cloud, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in a customer's cloud environment, it can be very complex, and it can cost people a lot of money. Right? Cost companies. There's companies out there that spend a lot of money with Azure or Google or AWS. So we've built a transformer. We've built a model that will actually analyze a customer's cloud environment. It will analyze their infrastructure, it will analyze the workloads that are running through their cloud environment, and then it will make recommendations, Alex. It will make recommendations. What are the right products and services that I should be using from Google or Microsoft or AWS? And then once it selects the right products, what's the right configuration or architecture of that network within the cloud? And then it analyzes what a customer is paying today and then makes the most intelligent decisions based on best practices and what we've trained it on to build a cloud infrastructure that is more efficient and costs less. So we call that product COM AI, Cloud Optimization and Modernization. And we can also use that tool to do assessments. When companies are looking to utilize artificial intelligence, they have to be prepared to do so, right? So, artificial intelligence, the algorithms that you were talking about earlier, they have to live somewhere, right? They have to live in a server, right? So, is that infrastructure, is that equipment, is the environment that artificial intelligent application riding on efficient to run that application? Are you going to get poor performance issues? Not because the artificial intelligence has been built inappropriately, but you may get bad performance issues because all of the infrastructure, all of the compute that's needed to run that application is on the wrong type of infrastructure. So that's one of the other things that our product does, COM AI. The other area that we're focused on is a form of generative AI that we call natural language processing. And whether it's building a chatbot or creating a system that can write contracts or documents, or analyze a document and summarize it right? Or solve problems, we have another separate engine that we can train data on to create the chatbot, right? That when you go onto a website or if you call into a help desk or a contact center, you think you're talking to a live person, but it's actually a machine. So we build those types of applications too.
Nice. I think I saw a little bit. So I think I meant a little bit. I meant a little bit your website. Basically you are hoping businesses grow in a sense. Is that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When a business is growing, Alex, right? It 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 has a need for tasks or jobs to be performed, right? And that's where we look at productivity. How productive is a company, right? How quickly can they produce a product or a service? How accurate is that product or service? Right? Is it safe? Is it correct? Can it be utilized efficiently to perform the task that a consumer is looking to fulfill? So all of those things, right? Again, we believe that we can solve those problems using artificial intelligence and let people like you and I be more strategic about, right? How are we going to interact with our customers? How are we going to go to market? How are we going to market our products and services? All of the things that a machine can't do today, we'll leave that to the people. And you know what? Companies can become very more productive and efficient, right? When they are giving those repetitive tasks to a machine to just do over and over and over again, because the machine can do those things faster than people can do, and they can do them
Yeah.
more accurate. Machines don't get tired. They don't take breaks. They don't get sick. They don't celebrate holidays either. So, again, we can accomplish many things a lot more efficiently with the machine than a person. However, on the flip side, there's a lot of things that a machine can't do that people can do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the company itself, the um services, they seem very interesting. Um, so I would like to hear a bit about your basically your day in the life for the company. Like, what do you do? Like, what's your schedule look like? Basically stuff like that.
So, we're a young company,
Yeah.
and in terms of number of people, there's probably 10 to 15 people, right, that work for Pinnacle AI. So there's a lot of things that a new company has to do. So some days, Alex, I wake up and I'm the salesperson. And
Yeah.
other days I wake up, I'm the marketing person. And some days I wake up and I'm the corporate lawyer. And some days I wake up and you know what? The trash has to be taken out. And I'm the janitor and I'm the janitor too. And that's
Wow.
kind of the nature of a startup. That we have a common goal and a mission, but you know what? There is no necessarily routine day after day after day because we all have to perform different tasks uh, as we're growing as a company too.
Nice. That seems very interesting. Do you have like any advice to people who want to work at a startup?
Yeah, I mean the first thing, Alex, the advice that I would have is that um, it's it's not easy, but it's very rewarding, right? And many times in life, you get knocked down or you hit an obstacle, or you wake up one day and guess what? You want to go back to bed. But part of being successful, right, with any business, being able to get up when you get knocked down, right? So
Yeah.
you have to have that drive that when you're going to meet obstacles, instead of letting the obstacle beat you, you have to figure a way to overcome that obstacle. The next piece of advice that I would give to anybody that's looking to work for a startup is right. Understand it is not a 9 to 5 job, right? As a small company, sometimes you got to work. Sometimes you got to work long days, and you have to be prepared, right? That and it's in startups. Look, the startups are going to make it or fail based on the commitment of the people that are working there, and you really have to have a mindset that you are right, that you're responsible for your own destiny, right? Nobody's going to take the trash out for you. Sometimes you just got to get up early in the morning or late at night and take it out yourself.
Mm. Okay, yeah. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, I want to say, like, let's just say I wanted to start an AI startup, right? Let's just say I want to start an AI company. It's kind of similar to yours.
Yep.
How would I exactly do it?
So the first thing, Alex, that I would do is that you have to have an idea, right?
Yeah.
You have to have an idea. And my recommendation would be come up with an idea that solves a problem, right? I mean, we can all come up with ideas, but sometimes they're silly ideas. And
Yeah.
sometimes we come up with ideas that, they may sound great, but they really don't solve problems, and they're really not applicable in the real world, right? So if you wanted to start an AI company, Alex, the first thing that I would say is what problem, what business problem, or what worldly problem are you going to solve with artificial intelligence? Once you kind of figure out, okay, what's the problem that I'm going to solve? Because remember, when you're solving a problem, you're creating a market for
Mhm.
yourself, for your company. People have to say, you know what, I want to buy Alex's AI solution because it makes my life easier. I get enjoyment out of it. It saves me money, makes me money, whatever I'm trying to solve for. I know that Alex has a solution for my problem. And that's what
Mhm.
we call go to market, right? So that once you figure out what problem you're going to solve, then you have to figure out how am I going to let the world know that I got the greatest product out there that's going to solve problems unlike any other product or service. Never quit, and always surround yourself with good people. So let me ask you a question. Are you looking to, right? Do you have an interest in computer science and artificial intelligence? Is that what you want to pursue as well?
Yeah. Um, I think artificial intelligence is a very interesting topic, and computer science in general.
Okay. Because you're very knowledgeable. Alex, I talk to business executives every day, and many of them don't know half as much about artificial intelligence as you do. It's very impressive. Very
Wow.
impressive.
Yeah, nice. Speaking of never quitting, can you tell us a little bit about the challenges you'll face as you're starting an AI startup, or currently now as an AI startup?
Sure. I mean, one challenge. So let me take a step back.
Hmm.
If you're looking to start a business, Alex, there's a lot of opportunities today because of technology to start a business. We call that barriers of entry. right? The barriers of entry into the world of technology as a business owner are much lower today than they were years ago because of technologies like artificial intelligence or automation. One person can do the job of many today, right? And that wasn't the case 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and beyond. It would require a lot of money in many cases if you wanted to start a technology company, right? But right today we can use artificial intelligence. We can use a lot of what we call software as a service, right? To kind of automate and do things. We can create chatbots. We can create outbound marketing campaigns that we never have to lift a finger for because the computer will do all of that. Unfortunately, right, while it is easier to start up a company today, that also means that because the barriers of entry are lower, that there's greater competition, right? That
Yeah.
right, it's not just easier for Alex to start a business or for John, it's easier for everybody to start a business. And that's a challenge because right, when you're thinking about how I'm going to solve a problem, right? I want to start a business. I've got a great idea on how I'm going to solve a problem that most everybody experiences. The next thing that you have to figure out, Alex, how am I going to differentiate myself from everybody else out there? Why is my solution better than the next person's solution? And how do I message that? Because if you're starting a business and you could have created the wheel, right, for all intents and purposes, or sliced bread, right? Who doesn't like sliced bread? But you could have created sliced bread. But if you can't figure out how to tell the world that you've just created sliced bread, nobody's going to know it exists or buy it from you. So that's a
Yeah.
challenge, right? Understanding how you're going to let your potential customers and products know why you're different than anybody else and how am I going to get that message out there.
Okay, nice. I also have another question for you with challenges. How will you how would you say a AI startup can um market themselves to those potential customers?
Sure.
Let's just say they're starting out and they don't have a lot of money. How do you think they can do that?
So that's a great question, right? That's a great question. Whenever you're starting a business, you need, right? You need to be able to keep track of your customers or your prospects, right? We call that a CRM, customer relationship management tool, right? And there's a lot of companies out there that they build these platforms. A lot of them are actually free, Alex, right? They don't give you a tremendous amount of functionality, right? But it gives you a place where you can actually start developing your contact lists, right? And putting your prospects in there. And in many of these tools, you can actually automate, for example, outbound emails, right? So I have a CRM platform or I have a customer outreach platform. I need to just get a list, right? Again, there's many areas, many places you can get free lists of potential contacts or prospects. And then you can automate a whole process of what we call outreach, right? Where Alex can be studying for her final exam or sleeping, getting ready to go to school the next day, and the computer is sending out thousands of emails to potential customers and prospects, right? Getting your word out. That's one of the things that I was talking about in terms of barriers to entry. The barriers to entry into starting a business are relatively low. Again, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, if you wanted to start a business, how am I going to reach people? How am I going to let them know? Social media is also a great place to let the world know that you have a product or service. So focus on things like, again, depending upon who your audience is. If I'm trying to reach a consumer, Facebook is a great platform. I'm trying to just reach the average person, the average consumer, right? Think about marketing on Facebook. Now, you can pay for ads or you can just try to grow organically. If you're looking to create a product or service that you're trying to sell to the business community or businesses, you have platforms like LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram are all great platforms that you can use to kind of start marketing yourself without really spending a lot of money.
Hmm, nice, interesting. So yeah, that's pretty great. I can like use Facebook ads
Absolutely.
organically. Yeah,
Abs-
that
uh,
seems really great.
right.
Yeah.
And again, it allows you to start a business without a lot of money. And it also allows you to kind of test your messaging, right? Without having to invest money that you might otherwise lose. Here's the other thing, Alex. Never fall in love with your own ideas, right? Always be your greatest skeptic. Because sometimes people fall in love with an idea because they created it, but you know what? It's a pretty bad idea, right? So you have to be nimble, right? And you have to be self-aware. And you have to, right? You have to be unbiased, even if the ideas or the concepts are your own, so you can change and you can be nimble and agile. I'm doing something wrong. I need to change the way that I'm doing it. So be very critical of your of your own ideas, prove them out, and try to disprove them. And the ones that work, pursue, and the ones that don't work, acknowledge that they don't work and throw them in the trash bin and try something new.
Nice. So resilience is key, right?
Resilience is key.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So lately I've been seeing all these YouTube videos ads about you should do this, you should start this AI side hustle. And I'm like, well, what's the difference between like an AI startup and AI side hustle, for example?
Well,
Um yeah.
so I think at the end of the day, uh, you know, right, we may be talking about semantics. However, when I think of a startup is a business that has a roadmap, it has a vision of growth, right? And there's a business plan, which is the other thing, Alex, is very important if you're going to start a business. Make sure you have a business plan and write it down, right? Think through it, right? People that start businesses without a business plan are exponentially more likely to fail than
Mhm.
those folks that have thought about their plan. Again, what's my product? Who am I marketing it to? What's my differential between competition and the marketplace? How am I going to market? What are the actionable steps that I'm going to take? The more detailed your business plan is, the greater likelihood you have for success. There's an old saying. I'm an old man, so I get to say old sayings. Fail to plan, you better plan to fail. And that's the same thing in business, right? Get a business plan, write it down, always review it, check it, because things change, right? Your ideas
Yeah.
change, the market changes, the world around us changes. So you can't write a business plan and then put it at the bottom of your drawer, never to see it again. You have to continually review that business plan to make sure, right, that it's still legitimate and accurate for the environment and what you're, working in. So yeah, right, business plan, resilience, Don't quit, right? And at the end of the day, be more determined than your competitors, and you, and you'll win. Like I said, I'm very impressed, Alex, to be honest with you, right? I'm very impressed with you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I feel like it's really nice the feedback you gave me about marketing, being resilient, having a business plan, etc. And let's talk a little bit about the future of AI startups. So, what are your predictions on, let's just say, the next 5 years and all these popular AI startups like OpenAI, um, Google's like Gemini bot, etc.
Yeah. So the guy who started OpenAI is a gentleman named Sam Altman. Are you familiar with that name?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Sam Altman.
Yeah. So he was just interviewed recently over the past couple of weeks, and he basically said Chat GPT-4 is terrible. Now, I was a little shocked, right? Because, right, at the end of the day, OpenAI has revolutionized the way that we do business. But I see a variety of things, right, in the future. In the short term, over the next couple of years, generative AI, right? Especially where we are in, a category where we're saying, right, we're in a category of AI's capabilities of narrow AI, right? Is a general categorization, is the stage that we're in today. And in narrow AI, again, we get back to artificial intelligence, right? Can be built and designed to create a single task. Now, it can be built and created to accomplish that single task with great proficiency, accuracy, and speed, but it's still it's still a single task. There is another term in the AI landscape called objective driven AI. And that's very similar again to the autonomous car. In generative AI, we are giving the machine a corpus of data, a series of artifacts, and they're taking that data and creating new content. Again, similar to the data that we're feeding into the machine. With objective AI, essentially what we're doing, like the autonomous car, is we're just basically giving the machine an objective and say, okay, machine, here's your objective, and we've trained you to figure out the best way to accomplish that objective. So we see that in very complex computations. We see that in research and development, autonomous cars, but we're still at the very beginning, early stages of artificial intelligence with regards to objective driven AI. So I see greater development there as well. As far as the generative AI and chat GPT, right, and like or similar services or products, I see those services getting more refined and better. And what I mean by
Yeah,
better, it's giving you more precise answers, right? And that is as models are being trained with more specific content, right? They are again are generating better responses, right? More accurate output to what you're essentially asking the machine. Now, there's a lot of money as well going into artificial intelligence research,
yeah,
right? To kind of move from what we call narrow AI to strong AI. I think we're probably a couple years away from it. We're probably definitely a couple years away from it, right?
yeah,
But that is where, right, we're developing artificial intelligence where the machine can become self-aware, right? Or aware of other people's emotions, right? Aware, like a human being can be contextually of their environment around them. So we're driving to a lot of these things in artificial intelligence that, right, today are still theory, but we're getting closer. Long answer, right, to a very simple question. I apologize for that. But I
It's
see a
okay.
couple things happening. Number one, there's going to be a refinement to the technologies that we're using today, right? Chat GPT-5 is going to be better and faster and more accurate than Chat GPT-4. Chat GPT-6 is going to be faster and more accurate than Chat GPT-5. So we're going to see an evolution or progress of the technologies that we're using today. And we're also going to see a lot of development, a lot of money going into trying to create greater capabilities of AI where we can move from what we call narrow AI to general AI and eventually super AI, where the machine is now not just aware of Alex, but they're aware of themselves as
Mm.
well. There's a difference, Alex, between being able to train a machine, and we do this, we have this capability today. We call it sentiment analysis, right? We can train a machine to recognize emotion, right? So if you're on the phone with a contact center, you're using an iPhone or an Android. Are you an iPhone phone person?
I'm an iPhone person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your iPhone, you have a problem with your iPhone and you're calling Apple, the customer service, and you're on hold for 40 minutes and you're getting transferred around, and now you're starting to get irritated. We can train a machine to recognize that emotion, right, of frustration or anger. And that's huge advancements. But there's a difference between training a machine to recognize when somebody is mad as opposed to training a machine to understand why somebody is mad. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like AI in the next 5 years it will definitely evolve and get better over time. Do you think
Absolutely.
there's going to be any new AI? Like something new?
Well, yeah, and that absolutely. There's a lot of there's a lot of research that again aimed at evolving artificial intelligence, not just right to do that one simple task, but to learn from that task and apply on its own, right, what it's learned to new tasks, right, to a new set of objectives. So the machine, again, where we are, while we're, again, still in this realm of, generative AI, narrow AI, right? The capabilities are going to get greater, and the ability for a machine to learn off past experiences is going to get greater to the point where it can take that knowledge and start applying it to, to other things as well.
Mm. So, does Pinnacle AI have any future plans? And if they do, what are they?
Yeah. So, as I had mentioned, Alex, our mission statement, our goal is to business processes and functions, things that people do in their jobs on a regular basis, and to modernize it, right? Sort of what the tractor did to the right to the ox and the manual hoe or plow, right? Like we're looking to take these systems and functions that people use every day in business and optimize them, make them faster, make them more efficient. make them more productive by using artificial intelligence. So that's essentially the path that we're heading. The good news and bad news, I guess, is that there's so many areas that artificial intelligence can be applied to. We're not going to run out of areas that we can optimize or modernize. However, the downside that is that you can apply it everywhere, right? Our biggest challenge is making sure that we stay focused.
Nice. Well, thank you for being on my podcast.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Alex. This was absolutely a pleasure. Let me tell you, if you have any questions about artificial intelligence, like I said, I'm very impressed with you. If there's anything that I can personally do to help you, to help your career aspirations, please, you have all of my contact information. It would be an absolute honor and a pleasure to be able to help you as you are kind of charting your course in the world of artificial intelligence and technology.
Wow. Thanks for that. And I'm Alex. This is John. And do you have any last words before we leave?
Alex, thank you for having me on your podcast. It was an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we can talk again sometime soon. And just remember, if there's anything that I can ever do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You're
Yeah.
very impressive, Alex. You're very impressive.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.